Good evening, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. It's been at least 3 or 4 days since I made a video, and I don't know. I kind of get lost in the flow of existence. I kind of get lost wandering around the dead zone and drifting on the death flow and just trying to decipher the plan of God, divine providence, my little moment of being on this earth, waiting to go into the eternal state. Plus, like I've always said in these videos, I've been making videos going on 4 years now, over 1,000 videos. And I never really feel totally relaxed or comfortable making videos. I always feel like I'm just making a fool of myself or being foolish. But I started this BookTube channel, first of all, to share my love for books, my love for the Lord Jesus Christ, my love for good Christian literature, because as I've said, that there are not many booktubers that I know of personally that talk about Christian literature, systematic theology, biblical theology, New Testament theology, Pauline studies, Old Testament, New Testament, Reformed dogmatics, church history, patristics. This goes on and on. So now, I'm not saying that that I'm really smart. I just know about this stuff because like I've said, I went to Bible college, and I went to seminary. I was educated to be a Presbyterian minister, but I never went into the ministry. But I'm a bookworm, and not only do I know about secular literature, but I also know about Christian literature because, like I said, I'm a bookworm. I'm a book freak. I love books. I love going to libraries. I love going to used book sales. I love going now to thrift stores, searching for used books, and going to used book sales and buying books. I just like getting books in the mail, new books, old books, used books. And it's just that books is my world, and I'm not really much into anything else. I'm not into playing basketball. I'm not into wrestling alligators. I'm not into fly fishing. I'm not into living a typical middle-class existence in the dead American world. I'm just not there. But anyway, tonight is October the 29th, 2019. It is 7:53 at night here in West Michigan. My wife just left to go to work, so that's why there's no disruption. My wife has been watching the World Series baseball, and it's on tonight. I don't watch baseball. I watch college football, professional football. I did that over the weekends. I watched some of it last night on Monday Night Football, but it was, I really basically last night, my wife went to bed early, and I have been reading this book I have shown in the past. This is Inverted Part, a novel by Rodrigo Reason, which is translated from the Spanish by Will Vanderhyden. And I got this back out, and I showed this as one of my favorite reads, I think from last year. This came out, it came out in 2017, and it was one of my favorite books. I just really, and I found out that they were going to translate out of Spanish this is well, when they first published this, it was just going to be a standalone, but then Rodrigo Fresan decided to do a trilogy, and I just got in the mail yesterday the second volume in the trilogy, The Dreamed Part by Rodrigo Fresan, who is an Argentinian writer who lives in Barcelona, who writes about American pop culture, among many, many, many other subjects. But this came out, I got it in the mail. So I had not finished the last chapter in this, and so I wanted to finish it so I could start reading this one. I also had bought a while back another translation of a novel by Rodrigo Fresan, The Bottom of the Sky, translated also from the Spanish by Will Vanderhyden. So I've been reading this also. I read this over the weekend. I read it at the Book Nook Monday, the library used bookstore where I volunteer from 10 to 1 on Mondays and 10 to 1 on Fridays. So I've been reading pretty much these two books lately, and I plan to get into this one at least by Wednesday or Thursday. Now, what this video is about is thrift store finds. I plan to make some more videos after this one about, well, I always do a video about preparing my diary. So I want to do a video on preparing my November 2019 diary. And I want to do a video on something else. I can't remember now. Oh, I got books coming in the mail this week, coming in Thursday, and I want to show those. But I want to show you the thrift store books and the books I got from the library used bookstore, the Book Nook, so I can get these down the lower level. Because they're piling up in my table by my reading chair in the living room, and I want to get them downstairs tonight. It's a Tuesday night. It's going on 7:57. First, I should mention where I'm at in my paper diary for the month of October. I ended it tonight on page 878 for the year 2019. Tomorrow is October the 30th, 2019. We're coming to the end of another year. World history, the history of mankind, the history of animals. I don't know if animals even have a conception of history. But anyway, so this, I want to talk, well, first of all, also I want to mention I got some music in the mail. I got the new Swan CD, Leaving Meaning. I got this. I got a signed copy. See this sign? I got the new Lightning Bolt, which is kind of like noise rock. Lightning Bolt. This is Sonic Citadel. I have all of Lightning Bolt's records. He's one of my favorite noise rock artists. He also is an artist. These are his own album covers that he does. His name is, what's his name? I'm terrible at remembering names. Recorded by, his name is Brian Chippenoil. Chippenoil. For 25 years, Lightning Bolt. He's been putting records out for 25 years. He's an artist. And check out Lightning Bolt. I really like their music, or his music. It's just him on a drum. He plays the drums and there's a bass. That's all it is, drum and bass. Lightning Bolt. This is his new one. Lightning Bolt, Sonic Citadel. And then I got this in the mail today. This is by a French black gaze group, Alsace. Elsa's Spiritual Instinct. So that's a new music I gotten lately. So I will mention now, in the time remaining, used books. Today, my wife and I, we got up this morning. She wanted to go grocery shopping, so we went grocery shopping, and then she had to take some used clothes of a friend of hers who was getting rid of clothes, her elderly friend who's 94, who's getting rid of stuff because she's going to die, and she had to take these used clothes to this thrift store in Zealand, and they have used books. And I found this one at the thrift store today, this morning, King and the Tree, 3 novellas by Stephen Millhauser. I have 2 other books by Millhauser. He won the Pulitzer Prize for Martin Dreisler, The Tale of an American Dreamer, won the Pulitzer Prize. He also did this book, Dangerous Laughter, 3 stories by Stephen Millhauser. So now I have another one by him in our collection. Then I picked up this morning at a thrift store, The House of Getty. You know, Getty, the very famous billionaire, the Getty Museum. This is like a biography on his life, on their family, the Getty, House of Getty biography. And then I picked up Isak Dinesen, A Life of a Storyteller by Judith Thurman. She was a writer. Isak Dinesen was, as she liked to say, a storyteller, not a writer, a voice, not a piece of printed matter. The stories she told in her magnificently serene memoir, Out of Africa, established her as one of the major authors of the 20th century, twice nominated for the Nobel Prize, but rarely have a life and art so strangely played it into one another to produce a true story, perfect and ironic in shape. And one story, this great storyteller could never tell the story of her own life. Now Judith Thurman has brought us the story from Dinesen's privileged, unhappy childhood in Denmark, her marriage to Baron Blixen, and immigration to Africa on the eve of the First World War, her life as a farmer when Kenya was still a wild Eden for adventurous free spirits, her passionate love affair with Den's Finch Helton, and the tragedies that forced her to return to Denmark and begin her second life as a writer to her worldwide celebrity in the 50s and early 60s. I have this already in paperback, but I found a hardback edition. And then I picked these. I picked all these books up at the Book Nook Friday and Monday. Monday I picked up this one, War Against the Weak, Eugenics and America's Campaign to Create a Master Race by Edwin Black. This is on eugenics. Then I picked up at the Book Nook Bad Religion, How We Became a Nation of Heretics by Ross Douthat, New York Times columnist. This was chosen as one of the Christian Century's 5 notable books, religion books of 2012. Then I picked up for our I have not read William Shakespeare. I collect books on William Shakespeare. I collect his plays, his sonnets, and I found this at the Book Nook, Shakespeare's Lives by S. Schoenbaum, forward by Micah Dearda. So I got this for our Shakespeare collection. Then I picked up at the Book Nook last Friday. This is a James Lee Burke, a Dave Rarebick novel. It's called Rarebick. It's a crime fiction. Takes place in Louisiana. As I've shown his novels in the past, and I like his prose. I read crime fiction once in a while. I start collecting James Lee Burke and this series by the Dave Rarebick novel. He writes individual novels, but I like this. I think he's a sheriff, a detective there in Louisiana. Then I picked up at a thrift store Salvation Army, Being Nixon, A Man Divided. This is a biography on Richard Nixon by Evan Thomas. I got this because I've been reading that biography of that journalist. My mind just went blank, and she covered the Nixon campaign, and this kind of goes more in detail about that, about Nixon and what took place in 1968 and how he defeated LBJ. You know, he defeated Humphrey in the election in 1968, and so I collect books on the Kennedys, the Nixons, Eisenhower, Truman, FDR, Theodore Roosevelt, Lincoln. I got this. It's going to be a 5-volume biography. The 5th volume has not come out. I have 3 of the volumes. I got this from the Book Nook by Robert A. Carroll, The Years of Lyndon Johnson, Means of Ascent. Now I have 3 out of the, predicted 5 volumes of a biography of Lyndon B. Johnson. Then I picked up at a thrift store Paul Thorax. These are a couple of novellas. The Elephant Suite by Paul Thorax. Picked up this art book at Salvation Army on the photographer and artist Man Ray, who lived from 1890 and he died in 1976. There's a photo. These are like photographs of different things that he did. Let me see here. He did photographs of, and he did, art things. And I had this already, Conquest, Montezuma, Cortez, and the Fall of Old Mexico by Hugh Thomas. But my edition was all beat up, and this is really perfect condition. I found this at Bibles for Mexico. Then I picked up at the Book Nook last Friday, The Sisters of Cyanide, how 2 lady adventurers discover the hidden Gospels. They travel to the monastery of St. Catherine there in the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, and they find some ancient gospel copies of the Gospels. It's kind of like a biography, travel memoir. Well, it's not a travel memoir. It's more like a biography of these 2 Victorian ladies and their travels. Then I picked this book up, which I have a hard time to explain. No Go, The Boogeyman's Scaring, Lulling, and Making Mock by Marina Warner. I don't know what exactly this is, but it looked really fascinating. It's really highly illustrated, and it says ogres and giants and boogeymen and boogaboos embody some of our deepest fears, dominating popular storytelling in various media, from fairy tales such as Puss in the Boots to the cannibal monster Hannibal Lecter, from the Lord of the Underworld of Greek mythology to the game of Dungeons and Dragons, from Frankenstein to Men in Black. Following her brilliant study of fairy tales from the Beast to the Blonde, this enthralling new book explores the ever-increasing presence of such figures of male terror and the stratagems we invent to allay the monsters we conjure up, including horror stories, lullabies, and jokes. Why do we like to be scared by ghost stories and horror films? Why do we sing violent lullabies to our babies and use humor to fabricate and to perpetuate other boogies? These are some of the paradoxical themes Marina Warner investigates in this book. So it looked kind of interesting. It was $2. So that's the used books I got at the Book Nook. I got at thrift stores. I showed you I got books in the mail. Like, I look forward to reading this once I finish reading the last chapter in Inverted Part by Rodrigo. Fresan, translated from the Spanish by Will Vanderhyden. So I want to get into this one. This is over 1,000 pages of script, text. You thought Ducks Newburyport was huge. This is a huge, and there's a third volume coming out, a trilogy. So probably over 1,000 pages. But I highly recommend these books. I can't speak more highly of his writings. I've just really enjoyed him. And I really enjoyed reading Bottom of the Sky by him. It says here in the back about Bottom of the Sky by Fresan, a homage to American science fiction films and novels. The Bottom of the Sky is a story of two boys, disturbing, beautiful girl, their joint love for other planets. Their friendship is formed during the heyday of sci-fi writing, in a time defined by almost cult-like literary groups, pulp covers awash in gaudy alien landscapes. But time has passed, and the three members of the Faraways have drifted apart. The future they once dreamed of is now happening, but interstellar travel to Yucca 24 has been replaced with 9/11, the Gulf War, and a mysterious incident at the center of it all. A Kurt Vonnegut novel told by David Lynch, filtered through the madness of Philip K. Dick. The Bottom of the Sky is a triumph of style, or as Fresan says in the afterword, a clump spontaneously broadcast messages like a storyline that only wants to be succession of marvelous moments seen all at the same time. So that's my book world. Like I said, this is a Tuesday night. Tomorrow is a Wednesday. Thursday I got books. Friday, this coming Friday, is a book sale at Freedom Village, which is a retirement complex. I go every year to this book sale, used book sale. Sometimes I find something, sometimes I don't. But I always go to used book sales if they're very local here where I live. So yeah, coming to the end of October, going in November, I have to prepare my November 2019 diary. My wife goes away for a week next month, go visit our daughter in Denver for a week. So yeah. So I thank you for the new subscribers. I thank you for the comments. Thank you for just who you are. And yeah, I'll probably make another video tomorrow night. So until next time, bye.